So the first question, we're going to learn a little bit about you. Say your full name for me, please.
Roslyn de Lizaraturi.
You have to spell that for me.
Delizarrurri. And the first name, my nickname is Roz, R-O-Z.
Okay, do you prefer, should I?
Yes,
have it as
Roz.
Okay, and Manny?
Manny de Lizaraturi, Mannylizarrituri.
Is that
A Basque name.
Oh, Basque. Okay, I got you. So Manny, you're from where again?
I was born in Mexico City, and I met Ross in Puerto Vallarta in 1983. We fell in love, and we got married, and now I'm here.
Okay, where are you from, Ross?
I'm from outside of Philadelphia.
Okay.
So it was amazing that the two worlds met, because I went to Mexico as a respite from a busy life in the States in sales. So I wasn't there just as a tourist, I was there as a person trying to rejuvenate. And so it was interesting. Or maybe I was brought there to meet him, because we've done a lot of really cool things in our life.
It's fate. And you guys moved to Pueblo 3 years ago, you said?
2 years, actually.
2015, August.
What brought you to Pueblo?
We have an RV, and we like to travel, and we were looking for a more central location, because to go from Philadelphia to California and back is 3,000 miles one way and 3,000 miles the other way. We wanted a more central location. We were looking for a more affordable place to live, and we looked at all these AARP best 10 lists, and Pueblo figured in a lot of them.
However, had we known that Pueblo was also one of the top, the highest utility rates, that was one of the top 10s we did not know about when we moved here. Not that it would have dissuaded us, but it's something we found out afterwards that we were totally unaware of.
So did you get your first bill, and was it sticker shock, or how did you find out?
Yes, the bill was quite high, and we were concerned that the rates were going to keep on going further higher and higher and higher, and so we decided to install solar panels, because we were concerned that the current administration would revoke the 30% tax credit, and also we were concerned that Black Hills Energy had a limited window of incentives that we needed to take advantage of. So in May of last year, we installed our solar panels.
Right. How sticker shock, how much were you paying?
You're talking about for our electric bills?
Yeah.
The electric bills here were about 30 to 40% higher than in the Philadelphia area.
So we are talking about $180 per month average.
And how big is this home?
2,500 square feet. And we were living in one room or two rooms, because we couldn't afford to either heat the whole house or have air conditioning in the whole house. So although we couldn't really afford it at the time, I mean, we bought the solar panels on credit, but we wanted to do it before Black Hills. We couldn't have done it without all the credits that were being offered, and so if we were going to do it, we felt we had to do it now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so there are two types of incentives. The federal tax credit, 30%, plus each utility has their own program of incentives. In the case of Black Hills Energy, they are already close or surpassed their, let's say, quota for solar, because they only go by what the state mandates. And so they were already at the cusp of their solar program, and they were going to reduce the benefits that they were offering their solar customers, and we decided to take advantage of the window that they still had for a full rebate program, and that's why we did it in May.
Right. So when you put on your solar panels, did your electricity rates go down, or?
Oh, they went down to just the connection fee. So we happen to be among the 57% in Pueblo that hopefully, we haven't had it a full year, but hopefully it will, our solar panels will produce 100% of our needs. The problem was people, the 43% of the people in Pueblo who don't have complete production with their solar panels. Those people were the ones that Black Hills Energy was going to really, really affect very seriously. I can even give you an example.
Yeah.
Okay, so someone that does not have solar panels with the proposed Black Hill rates, okay, if someone was using 600 kilowatt hours per month, they were going to pay $99 and some cents. Someone that had solar panels but used 478 kilowatts per hour per month, which is less, we're going to pay $125 per month. In other words, I know it makes like no sense, they were going from 0.0865 cents a kilowatt hour to 0.17 cents. So they were doubling on the solar owners that were still using the grid to produce their energy. A lot of people don't have panel because they're expensive. They don't have enough panels to produce all their needs. So those were the people that were really going to be affected very seriously by this.
So when we learned that Black Hills was going to set up a totally unfair rate for solar customers, is when we decided to form a coalition of solar owners and fight them. And we did. We went to the public hearing here in Pueblo. Administrative judge, law judge Harris Adams listened to us. She presented evidence where we were able to demonstrate that over 10 states have different public utility commissions have done studies about the benefits of rooftop solar that rooftop solar brings to the grid. And so because of our intervention, we opened his eyes, and in his conclusion, he has rejected the claim that Black Hills Energy made and has sent it back to the drawing board. There is no justification for an additional RS-3 rate class, which was only for net metered customers. So all in all, I would say we had a huge victory because of our intervention.
Mm-hmm. So let me make sure I'm understanding this correctly. If you didn't have 100% of your power needs being met, you would be paying these huge rates.
Exactly. So for the portion that your solar panels don't cover, you have to buy the electricity from Black Hills. But instead of charging the solar owner the same rate as everyone else, they were penalizing the solar owners and charging them twice the rate. Or they were proposing that. That was rejected, but they were proposing that. So we should back up though, honey, and talk about why we started the...
Well, not only did they want to raise the energy charge, they also wanted to raise the fixed connection charge and make it even more unfair towards solar customers, because they claimed that they needed to, or we needed to, through the fixed rate, pay back the production meter. The production meter only costs a few $100s, and a fixed rate goes on forever. So that was another unfair practice that they wanted to.
I think maybe to clarify, the Black Hills Energy point was that everyone, okay, let me back up a second, that the solar owners were not paying their fair share, is basically, that was their premise. They said that because many of us don't use the grid that much, any infrastructure, anything that they build has to be paid by the other ratepayers. So they were basically pitting solar owners against the other ratepayers, setting up a false premise. And fortunately, the PUC saw through that. And today, just today, is amazing that they came down. It's a 100-page document, so we only read the part that was.
So that's just today. Were they charging those higher rates though? Or?
No, not yet. No,
Not yet.
that
Needed to be approved by the Public Utilities Commission.
We intervened in between the phase one of the rate request, which they wanted Black Hills wanted $8 million increase. The PUC said no way, and they went down to $1 million. And this was the figuring out where that million was going to come from. And so instead of, I mean, I don't know how they're going to justify it now, but they tried justifying it with incorrect information, basically.
And what is the name of your group? Your
Renewable Energy Owners Coalition of America, rioca.org.
and how many people do you have here?
We now have 159 residences, which translates to a little over 200. And that's amazing because we just started this in October because of this situation with Black Hills. So, and we were able to contact them, but just through a mailing. And now we're going to,
I'm sorry, it translates to 200. I don't follow.
well, if there's, like, this is
Like,
one
for example,
resident,
this
but
is
there's
one
two
resident,
people.
but we have two members.
I see.
In other words, that many voices.
I gotcha. And are you part of the? Do you advocate for this off-ramp solution of?
Oh, definitely. That's one of the things
In
that.
fact, in Pueblo, we have a unique opportunity because the city, number one, has already resolved to go 100% renewable by 2035. Number two, they have already resolved to take the off-ramp from Black Hills Energy. So now, what we are focusing on as solar owners is becoming ready to partner with the city in providing the renewable energy that they have stated for a goal. But we want the partnership to be a fair partnership, not like it is today with Black Hills Energy, where Black Hills Energy buys our excess production at wholesale rate prices, but charges our next door neighbors for full rate of what we are producing. So we are looking to form a partnership with the city that will allow solar rooftop owners to be a part of the energy mix of the city and be compensated in a fair way.
And also to be part of the solution, to be part of the Ready for 100 by 2035. The people in this group we're just learning who they are, and they were financially motivated, but more importantly, they were definitely environmentally motivated.
Yeah. What was your motivation? Financial, environmental, both?
Both. I would say both.
Do you think it's gonna be hard though to create your own utility here? I mean,
I mean, it's definitely, it's going to be hard, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. They've created a off-ramp commission that's going to work. One of our members is a member of that.
Very knowledgeable people, and they are already looking at examples. For example, Fort Carson up north has already gone this route
Fort Collins,
Fort Collins has already gone the route of creating a municipal utility. So we have good examples to look at.
so not impossible, hard but not.
Exactly, hard but not impossible. And frankly, I think the will is there. When the complete city council, which tended to be a bit conservative, when they decided 7-0 to take the off-ramp, I knew they were serious.
6-1.
Yes.
No, it
No,
was 7.
6-1
For
was
the Ready for
was the
100.
Ready for
I thought
100.
Bob Schilling voted against the.
That was for going 100% solar. Bob Schilling voted against that. Then they had another resolution about taking the off-ramp. That was a 7-0 vote. They also had another resolution to follow the Paris Agreement. That was also a 7-0 vote.
Even Bob Schilling.
Okay. So what were you guys doing before? You said retired now? Is that?
We're
Yes.
retired
What
now.
were you doing before you moved here?
We've been retired for a while.
Uh-huh.
We were traveling. We have a little blog beside toadventures.com.
But in our working life, I started out as a teacher, and then went into the business world in sales. And then Manny and I had a bit, after we met and moved back to the States, we met in Mexico and we moved back to the States, we had an advertising business.
You moved in the States early 80s?
Early 80s, yes,
84.
yes, to California, Southern
Yeah.
California.
So this might sound like a strange question. The reason I ask it is because we do international news. Our show's an international news show, and this is obviously not an international story.
Okay.
But I'm looking for ways,
To tie it
hooks
in.
it in. And my question for you, Manny, because you're born and raised in
Of
Mexico, does your experience being a Mexican impact at all, like how you're fighting for this? I mean, does the immigrant experience shape the way you're fighting for this, or no?
Absolutely. It has always shaped my thinking and my actions. ever since I moved to the United States and decided to become a citizen, I have always been politically motivated in a progressive focus. So yes, when we were in Flower Town, living back there, we formed a coalition to fight City Hall because they were going to change the zoning of our properties in a negative impacting way. So that's where we actually earned our chops, so to speak, in organizing people and fighting City Hall, and that's what we're doing here now.
So you're more politically active because you had the blood, sweat, and tears to become a citizen.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And you became a citizen so you could vote.
Exactly.
That was his
Especially after the George W. Bush administration. That was the one that took us in a direction that I thought was terrible for the country, and that's when I decided to become a citizen so I could vote against that party.
What year did you become a citizen?
I became a citizen in 2006, I believe.
Mm-hmm. So did he rub off on you, or were you always politically minded?
I think he actually rubbed off on me. He went to University of Wisconsin in the heat of the 70s, late
Yes.
70s, and yeah, he's definitely been instrumental in steering me in that direction.
Yeah, my dad went to Wisconsin.
Uh-huh.
What else? What else should I be asking? What's important? Are there other in your group of 200? Is there other immigrants in the group, or are you?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really...
we don't actually ask for
right. We don't
citizen
ask
or countries of origin or anything like
Right.
that. We do have a lot of Hispanics, but Pueblo has a big Hispanic population.
And that is one of the reasons we did choose Pueblo, was because of the Hispanic population, because we like that and we feel comfortable around that, and now that we know that there's some issues that we could be helpful on that side, we're very happy we moved here.
So the safe state's a mix of immigrant and second generation, third generation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. What else should I be asking? What do you want to tell me?
I don't know. Let's see.
Oh, I have one question.
Okay, good.
So did you have to put up more solar panels than you maybe would have because you had to get to 100%? So you didn't...
Well, to be perfectly honest, we didn't even know that at the time. The people that went for less than 100% was in the first wave of incentives. When Black Hills first came into town, there was an incentive program. And for some reason, most of the people that took advantage of that did not get 100%.
I think I can explain why.
Okay, good.
Originally, the Black Hills Energy Incentive Program was a very generous program, and they were giving out a lot of money to people to install solar panels. So people took the money without even thinking about what their needs were. They just wanted to take advantage of the incentive. It was so grossly mismanaged that Black Hills Energy ended up running out of funds for the incentive program for residential. And they had then to completely cut back. It produced a huge crisis here I'm talking about here 2011 or 12, that we weren't even here yet. But we know from talking to people that was a huge crisis that put even a lot of businesses out of business, and some solar installers that we know even had heart attacks because of that. So yes, Black Hills has been a company that I would characterize as a predatory company that is mostly interested in guaranteeing the rate of return for their investors and do not care about the ratepayers. We have a very small service area of about maybe 100,000 customers or 130,000 customers. They wanted a rate increase of $8 million. Divide $8 million by 100,000. That would be just
Impossible.
Disastrous for home economics. So
are people unable to pay their bills here and they lose their?
A lot of people are unable to pay their bills and they get disconnected, and then their reconnect policy has been recently upturned because it was so harsh. They were requiring a 3-month deposit besides the arrears, so people could come up with the money to reconnect.
There is something that I think is really important to this story. When we installed our solar panels in May, no, actually before that, when we first got to town,
Yeah.
in October of 2016, National Geographic came out with the explosive series Years of Living Dangerously. The second season. We saw the first episode was about the solar industry and what's been happening in this country, particularly in Florida and Nevada. The story was exactly the story we were hearing about Black Hills here was happening in Nevada and Florida. When we saw that, we thought, oh my God, we have to make sure the people of this city see that. So we made it our job. That's how we got involved with the Sierra Club, frankly. We made it our job to be sure they were aware of it. We wanted to show it to the citizenry here before the all-important Ready for 100 vote in February of this past year, 2017. Yes. So it was really critical that we made that happen.
So you let the Sierra Club know, you informed the Sierra Club?
Yes.
Yes, we actually cajoled them into partnering with us so that we could have a legal entity that could partner with the library here, the Rawlings Library, and we showed the whole season over a period of 5 months. Every 2 weeks we showed one show in the InfoZone Theater. We had attendance of about 100 average for each show.
You showed the Years of Living Dangerously. Yes. I didn't see season 2. What happened with the solar in Nevada?
Well, that's a particularly interesting case because overnight, the Nevada utility took away the incentives just as they were proposing to do here, the incentive for solar owners. So they made it absolutely
uneconomical. Solar companies had to close warehouses and move out of the state. Overnight. And in fact, we're going to give you, before you leave, a copy of the DVD of Years of Living Dangerously. You can see this show for your work, but it was very eye-opening to see the tactics that utility companies are using to kibosh rooftop solar. They did that in Nevada, and they did that in Florida as well. In Florida, they actually used a smear campaign to sort of get rid of the commissioner that was prohibiting them from doing the kinds of things they wanted to do.
And that was another part of the film that was so relevant in Pueblo because we have a woman on the PUC named Frances Concilia, and she is from Pueblo. Her family's from Pueblo. So when we saw what the utility company in Florida, they did a smear campaign against Nancy Arganzano, who was a Republican, and they actually made sure she was not voted in the next, or not appointed on the next round. And we were so afraid that was going to happen to Frances Concilia here because Black Hills was already proposing that she should recuse herself from this case because of her relationship with Pueblo. So we saw the writing on the wall that it was exactly what was happening here, moment by moment. When we showed that to the citizenry here, people couldn't believe that it was so. It's the utility industry is a $6 trillion a year business, and it's the first time they've really been challenged. They don't really have, they don't know how to deal with this. Instead of looking forward and being forward thinking and trying to find ways to work with the solar industry, they're just fighting it tooth and nail.
Mm-hmm. Investor-owned utilities have an economic model that is based on a monopolistic control of a certain territory, and within that territory they control the generation, the transmission, and the distribution of electrical energy. Rooftop solar is coming in, and utility-owned, investor-owned utilities are looking at this as a threat because they don't know how to integrate rooftop solar in an economically positive way for themselves. So our whole quest now is to change the economic paradigm of the new energy economy. We need to democratize the energy economy and include rooftop solar resources as one of the resources that the state or the city can count on.
Right. And just to clarify one thing, I asked, is it environmental or economic? You said both, because we've been talking about most economics, but is it environmental? Is that climate change or pollution? What is your concern?
For me, it's climate change. We're trying to do our part
Yes.
to
And-
curb that.
And here, particularly in Pueblo, we do suffer from a lot of pollution because we have coal-based generating plants that spew out a lot of air pollution, and all the energy from those plants goes up north. So we get no benefit from the energy produced here. We only get the pollution, and we're trying to fight that. In fact, Excel Energy, who owns Comanche 1 and 2, they are hoping to close those two coal plants and replace them with a solar farm. That's one of the things in the works right now.
It's an exciting time in Pueblo. I mean, we're getting a mayor for the first time in 2018, and that's something we want to be.
Which one of you is going to be the mayor?
Neither. We're just going to hope to get the right one in. So our group is probably going to be a 501c4 so that we can lobby and without worrying about doing something incorrectly. But we want to definitely have a say in who governs.
And you have a website, you said?
Yes.
What's the website?
Reoca.org.
Okay.
REOCA.org.
Okay.